It is time for the Inside Edge Hockey News Radio Show, your home for National Hockey League news, information, and opinions. It is an exciting and often controversial approach to the great game of hockey. Get ready for breakdowns of current hockey topics. It's a no-holds-barred approach to happenings throughout the hockey world. And now, your host from Inside Edge Hockey News, Brad Baroud.
Welcome to episode number 1 of the Inside Edge Hockey News Radio Show. It's November 27th, 2017. Tonight on the show, we talk about the Quarter Awards. We're a quarter of the way through the season at American Thanksgiving, and who should be winning the awards in the National Hockey League this year. We'll also talk about the next 100 years as the National Hockey League celebrates its 100th birthday. And we'll have a question tonight from a fan about the Landeskog suspension. Thank you to our sponsor, Hockey Community, and enjoy the show.
Tired of calling or texting around looking for players for your hockey games? Upset that no one seems to respond to your email or even Facebook invites? Yeah, pretty frustrating, right? Lucky for you, there's Hockey Community, a social media website dedicated just for hockey. It's a one-stop shop in searching for games, players, stick and puck, tournaments, and yes, goalies. But there's more. As soon as you sign up, you will see every game and player updates within 50 kilometers of your location. Thanks to our innovative technology, rinks and leagues can connect their schedules to our site and we'll show you what's happening around. Whether you want ice, roller, street hockey, or even floorball, you can connect with the sport anywhere you go and right from your pocket. Check out hockey-community.com now to see more.
We're at the quarter mark of the National Hockey League season for the 2017-2018 season. It's American Thanksgiving, and that's kind of a milestone mark in the National Hockey League schedule every year, where playoff teams that are in the playoffs now have a tendency to be there at the end, and this is kind of the time of year where you kind of have to have your things together, and as a team in the National Hockey League, and it's not much different for the players, and there's been some players this year that have just gotten off to rocket starts and are having great years, and are definitely the front runners in the awards category this year. And let's run down who we think at Inside Edge Hockey News should be taking home the awards if the season was to end today at this quarter mark. For the Hart Trophy, which is the league MVP, it's hard to look past Sergei Bobrovsky. The Columbus Blue Jackets goalie has led this Blue Jackets team to 31 points, a 15-7-1 record, and they stand 5th in the NHL overall and 2nd in that very tough Metro. And Bobrovsky's just been rock solid in net this year, and I have him down as the MVP of the season. The top defenseman, the Norris Trophy, that's a tough one. Every year it seems like it gets harder and harder. Do you pick the forward that is putting up the points, or do you pick that that tough defenseman that's rock solid on the back end, or is it a guy a little bit in between? And oftentimes I get a little frustrated with this award and think it's given to the points, and where it's a little bit more to that in my mind. But this year, I'm kind of maybe giving into the points category, as I got Alex Pietrangelo of the St. Louis Blues down right now, and not only because of his points, but he's been rock solid on the back end for this Blues team that's off to a great start. He's got 20 points, he's got 7 goals, 13 assists. He's a plus 11, and that's the big thing, as far as defensemen go. You got to be a good plus guy to have your team be successful, and he's definitely done that thus far. Going back to talk about goaltenders, the Vezina Trophy, I got to go with Bobrovsky of the Blue Jackets, who I gave him the heart, so I'm doubling up on him. But he's got a 1.91, .936 save percentage. He's got 14 wins on the season and an amazing 3 shutouts already this season. Bobrovsky's just really, really stood out amongst some other goaltenders that have done well, with Mike Smith off to a really good start this year, but it's hard not to give Bobrovsky the nod for the Vezina thus far. Talking about probably the most popular award to talk about, and that's the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year, and this year it was a guy that wasn't on too many people's radars, but I'm proud to say it was the guy I predicted at the beginning of the year, and that's Vancouver Canucks forward Brock Boeser. 21 games played this year. He's got 22 points, over a point a game. He's got 11 goals, 11 assists. He's a +1 on a team that, has been mediocre this year. Has actually been above what people predicted the Canucks to be, but still not, a leader in the National Hockey League. Besser played a couple games last year, and in 30 career games, the guy's got 27 points. It's tough not to look at this guy, and he can do it all. He was often knocked for his skating ability, but he's all but proved the critics wrong on that one, and his shot's lightning quick, and he's got a knack to score. The guy can score, and he's big and physical too, so he's kind of the full package in Vancouver, and boy, he's going to be a team leader for years to come for the Canucks. Looking at the Art Ross Trophy for the most points, I pegged McDavid at the beginning of the year, and I'm not giving up on that. McDavid sits at 30 points right now, which puts him in that 5-6 category as far as point getters in the league, and I'm not giving up on him. He's got 10 goals right now, 20 assists. He's doing it on a team that's struggling offensively. They've really the Oilers have really struggled offensively, and I don't think the Oilers are going to bounce back and make the playoffs or anything like that. But I think McDavid, they're only going to get better. I mean, they're not going to play this bad all year long. This is a good hockey team, and I think McLellan will get these guys going and right the ship a little bit. But when they right the ship, boy, McDavid's even going to put up more points, and I still think that he's going to be there, with Art Ross at the end of the year.
Inside Edge Hockey News, bringing you inside the game.
November 26th was a very important day in the National Hockey League, and this year the National Hockey League turned 100 years old on the 26th, and boy, is that quite an achievement for a professional sports league. And it made me wonder, what are the next 100 years going to bring, to the National Hockey League and to the fans as far as the entertainment value goes. I think the league has really, really grown and really, really expanded and done a lot of great things in the first 100 years, and it's made for an extremely exciting sport to watch, and you just wonder what will it bring. And here's a couple things that came to mind as far as changes that I predict over the next 100 years, and the first one is actually kind of an argument to one of them that everybody else is talking about, and that's rink size. Everybody thinks it will go to Olympic rink, more room, or even not quite the width of Olympic, but longer. That's one thing I'm going to disagree with. I think the league will stay at this, the 20 or 200 by 80, and the reason I think that is because of venue sizes, and that would be quite a change, and it wouldn't be a change you could do in 1 year, and that's something that the league would really be against. And everybody thinks that having a bigger ice surface would bring more speed and everything like that. But if you look at Olympic hockey, it doesn't necessarily do that, and it doesn't equate to more goal scoring. So I think the NHL's got it right at the 200 by 80, and I think they need to stay like that. And I know we're talking about predictions for things that will change in the next 100, but that's one thing that I'm going to argue that will not change. One thing I do think will change is the salary cap. It's at $75 million right now, and when you think back and look just in the 80s on what teams were spending, we didn't have a salary cap back then. I know, but I mean, you look at what teams were spending on salaries and how it's just grown exponentially. What's it going to be? Is it going to be $650 million as a salary cap, or really, if it grows at the rate it's growing, we're talking $5.5 billion salary cap? That'd be hard to imagine, but who knows? I guarantee 100 years ago they wouldn't have imagined that players would be making $10+ million a year and teams would have $75 million in payroll on a yearly basis. $650 million seems far-fetched. $5.5 billion seems out of the question, but is it really? Another thing that I think will happen is I think we'll have 50 teams in 100 years. I do, and I also think that there'll be a Europe division. The league keeps growing. The league is pushing for that growth, pushing for growth outside of the U.S. and Canada. And I think that's something we will see, is that growth expand over into Russia and teams in Sweden and teams in Norway and teams in Europe, as well as Russia and Slovakia and the Czech Republic. I think it's viable. This game of hockey is one of the only professional sports that can say it's a truly world game. It's a lot like soccer in the fact that it's played almost everywhere, and it really expands out. And I think the league will do that. It may not happen in the next 15, 20 years, but in the next 100, I do see a Europe division and a big expansion up to at least 50 teams. Another one that's been a hot topic is checking fighting, concussions. Where do we go with that in the next 100 years? I think there's going to be a big crackdown. You see things in football that are changing. You see things in sports at every level, basically, where they're changing. And it's becoming less physical. It's becoming more speed, less physical. Concussions are a hot topic, and no league wants concussions. And leagues are doing and changing to reduce concussions. And I think that'll happen more in the next 100 years. And I really think that you're going to see less hitting. I think I hope that checking never comes out of the game. But I'm afraid that in 100 years, we won't have checking in hockey. I know we won't have fighting in hockey. Think about how much fighting has changed in the last 5 years, 2 years. I don't know that fighting will be part of the game in 10 years. I know people will argue that, and I'm a traditionalist, and I don't want to change the game at all, really. I love the game where it's at now, but I do. I think fighting will be out of the game in 10 years, and I'm pretty sure contact will be way down in the next 25 years, and I'd bet in the next 100 there will not be any contact. They want safer sports. We talked a little bit about this being a worldly game. If you look back 100 years ago, I don't have the exact percentage, but I would say over 90% of the players came from Canada. Today that stands at 68.5% from Canada, 15% from the U.S., 4.7% from Sweden, and 3% from Russia. I see a lot of change in that too. I see this game growing across the world, and I would say that there'll be less than 50% from Canada playing 100 years from now. More in that 30% range, I would say, and probably 30% from the U.S. and the final 40% being made up of Slovakians, Czech Republics, Russians. And another big area, I think, is that Japan and China. What's going to happen with that when they take off and they start producing some players and that really gets going? It seems far-fetched for the hockey traditionalists, but I do. I think we're going to have a 30-30-40 mix by year, 100 years from now. It's always fun to project out and think of what the future brings for this great sport. I think it's come a long ways, and with technology and equipment and in arenas, salary cap, salaries, teams, television, and everything in the last 100 years. And with technology growing the way it is, what are we going to have 100 years from now? It's fun, and we congratulate the National Hockey League on 100 great years, and boy, I can't wait to watch as many as I can left in my lifetime in the next 100.
NHL news, opinions, and controversy.
It's time to go to the mailbag and a question. And this question was sent in via tweet from Casey K. And the question is Landeskog's suspension that was handed down today a fair suspension? The suspension, let's recap, it was a 4-game suspension. It was for a cross-check to the head of Calgary's forward, Tkachuk. It was vicious. The first one he was trying to clear the man off the puck. And if you go to Inside Edge Hockey News, click on the radio show, hit this episode. I'll put a video up of it so that you guys can see, so you guys can all form your opinion on this. It's an interesting question. 4 games. When I first heard 4 games, I thought, ooh, that's a lot. I was thinking more in the neighborhood of 2. But after watching it multiple times and watching how hard that third cross-check was, and watching where the puck was and how far the puck had moved away from that and how irrelevant Tkachuk was to the play and how Tkachuk was laying on the back of the net from the first couple hits and where the cross-check was targeted to, and Landeskog caught him right in the jaw area, and it was pretty vicious. And when you look at how Radko Gudas got 10 games for his hit to the head of Winnipeg Jets forward Perreault, we're not. I get we're on a different level. Gudas is a different player than Landeskog, and Gudas is a repeat offender, and Landeskog is not. But Landeskog was suspended back in 2016 for a similar play, and he got 3 games on that one. So when my initial response was, boy, that's too many. And now when I look at it, I think 4 is about right. I think that was a good suspension, and I think the National Hockey League got it right. Thanks for the question, and check out the webpage. Click on the radio show webpage link, and down at the bottom you'll see where you can email in a question, or tweet me a question, and please do that. I love getting questions. I'll answer them. I'll either answer on the show, and if I don't answer on the show, I'll make sure I fire off an email to you or a tweet back with my response. And I'd like to go back and forth. I love talking hockey, and it's always fun to hear the listeners' opinions.
Win big! Inside Edge Hockey News. Saturday Night Challenge. Every Saturday night on DraftKings.
Thank you for listening to episode 1 of Inside Edge Hockey News Radio Show. First off, thanks to our sponsor, Hockey Community. Go check out their webpage. Get linked in with other hockey players and talk hockey. It's a great website, so check that out too. And we thank them for their sponsorship. For your hockey news, check out Inside Edge Hockey News. It's updated daily. It's got all kinds of different hockey things, from podcasts to videos to blogs to trade talk to everything. The website's got a little bit of everything for the hockey fan. Follow us on all forms of social media and download the Inside Edge Hockey News Radio Show on your favorite podcatcher. Check us out on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeart, and YouTube. Thanks for listening. Enjoy this week's hockey action, and check back for another episode.
Tired of calling or texting around looking for players for your hockey games? Upset that no one seems to respond to your email or even Facebook invites? Yeah, pretty frustrating, right? Lucky for you, there's Hockey Community, a social media website dedicated just for hockey. It's a one-stop shop in searching for games, players, stick and puck, tournaments, and yes, goalies. But there's more. As soon as you sign up, you will see every game and player updates within 50 kilometers of your location. Thanks to our innovative technology, rinks and leagues can connect their schedules to our site, and we'll show you what's happening around. Whether you want ice, roller, street hockey, or even floorball, you can connect with the sport anywhere you go and right from your pocket. Check out hockey-community.com now to see more.
Thanks for listening to the Inside Edge Hockey News Radio Show. We hope you'll pass along our website address, InsideEdgeHockeyNews.com, to your friends and colleagues. Check out the radio show archive on our website for previous radio shows. The website also features numerous articles, videos, and blog posts. This has been an Inside Edge Hockey News production. Join us next time for another entertaining edition of the Inside Edge Hockey News Radio Show.